The great dragon, toppled by a member of the paltry eighth, the incarnation of calamity, brought low by a whelp. Fine then, I will simply summon another.
Within the sky, Faye raised his hand to the moon. However, instead of bringing it down upon the earth, the Fae simply began to crush the gigantic mass downwards, further and further towards a singular, almost microscopic point. Forcing more and more mass into a tighter area began to increase the gravitational pull of such a creation. All of those on the ground watched in terror as suddenly the moon began to vanish, disappearing into a small singular point. This singularity burst into a black hole, only after the mass had been crushed down to a point that was even smaller than the subatomic level. This black hole roared, but instead of simply consuming creation, it did the opposite. It reached out, connecting two worlds that should not have been, and suddenly, something was pulled through. A young-looking man appeared, not that tall, but still radiating a sense of overwhelming power. They were in a state that was clad in mostly white, and they instantly began to worry. Where were they? What was happening? And why was this world on the verge of destruction? Quickly, they reverted down to a lower state, but not to their base form, simply flying there in a state coated in pure darkness. They looked around, rather confused. What was happening, and why was he here? He was just about to destroy the commandments. Meanwhile, as the one being was filled with confusion, the people on the ground were filled with a distinct terror. They had no idea what this being was, but they seemed even more powerful than the last being that plagued their world. And there was no Arthur here to solve that problem. Now, all that was left was for their despair. However, something changed. Something different happened.
Hey, I'm gonna need that shirt.
The blonde being was still confused and looking around, noticing the Fae that was floating there, waiting for the other being to begin their rampage of destruction, causing more despair. This was supposedly the strongest one he could summon, or at least in a similar vein to the dragon that he had once saved. Hey, what was that thing you pulled me through, and why am I here right now? The blonde man had noticed that the thing he had come through, that seemingly black hole, had vanished the moment he arrived. Well, I hate to be the one to inform you, but you're here for nothing now. My brother will stop you, a boy clad in white said, and the blonde man got confused. I'm sorry, what?
Thanks for the intro, show. Let's get into it.
Before we hop into this battle of the two heroes of their respective worlds, please do me a favor and leave your own thoughts on who's going to win in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Now, let's get into it. What's up, guys? I got the pencil here, and here we are to discuss the battle between the two legendary saviors of their respective worlds, two who have gone through strife and struggle yet still managed to stand alongside their friends, those who protect all they care about with the biggest smile that they can muster. Now, it is time to discuss the battle between the legendary member of the 8th Company of the Fire Force, Shinra Kusakabe, versus the legendary dark leader of the 7 deadly sins, Meliodas. Now, I actually do want to mix up this battle a little bit, so usually I break this down into categories, but a friend of mine inspired me to say the least. So, we're going to be doing a fusion dance of sorts. We're going to be combining power, speed, abilities, and finally the battle all into one. So let's hop right into it. Now, I'm not even going to lie to y'all, the entire concept of this battle changed the moment chapter 273 came out. Because beforehand, you couldn't really get Shinra, at least AP-wise, anywhere near Meliodas' highest end. But now, you can actually get it pretty darn close, based off the feat that happened in chapter 273. In chapter 273, when the entire rest of the Fire Force world had no idea what to do when Faye decided to throw down the entire moon on the planet real quick on some Majora's Mask type beat, Shinra came out of nowhere and kicked that bad boy right back up into orbit, aka right out of danger from everyone else, while Faye was still trying to push it down, meaning that Shinra managed to counter that level of force. Now, using kinetic energy, you can get that up to dwarf star level in terms of potency, considering how fast the moon had to be moving, and the collision force all combined into one, on top of the fact that it was managing to enter the atmosphere at the speed it did. All of that makes it so that the lowest end would be around large planetary, but the highest end would be around dwarf star level. And arguably, you can argue Shinra would be even stronger than that, considering it's not shown that he's using any of his real powers up to that point, or any possible amp states from Adala. And to be fair, while at this point Adala and the human world are merging, so really Shinra shouldn't have need to use the Evangelist's Grace or anything like that, considering the world is on the verge of being destroyed right now. It wouldn't be shocking if Shinra still could get more amps very, very quickly right on after this, considering the fact that, due to the fact we can't see his hands actually, we don't know if he's using Rapid, we don't know if he's using any of his really highest level abilities, we don't even know if he's using Berserk Strength or anything along the lines of his Intense Fire due to the lack of coloring, and we don't even really get to see the blades on his feet, so it's very possible that he's doing this pretty darn casually. Sure, he's screaming and it looks like he's struggling, but at the same time, he's definitely gotten a massive amp from race from before. So putting him at his highest limit, Dwarf Star, pretty darn good. And the thing is, he's also pretty darn speedy. So in terms of this fight, I feel like Meliodas actually does have a pretty solid match, considering Meliodas' highest ends get him to around that Dwarf Star to possibly higher, depending on how much you want to put him above the Demon King and Supreme Deity, which he should be very, very much higher than them. But regardless of how much higher than them, let's just say he's equal for now. That should at least put him at Dwarf Star level, considering the whole idea that the Supreme Deity does need to have a sun in her dimension in order for Mael to activate his grace, which relies on the position of a sun relative to a planet and relative to a person on said planet. So that is pretty darn good for both of them in terms of their raw attack potency. So I do think the two will be actually swinging even and doing damage when both put at their highest ends. And for the lower ends of Shinra's feat, it goes around large planetary still. So that's still really, really solid for something that he needs to do against someone like Meliodas, who also, well, see, to be fair, he does scale a bit above large planetary more consistently, while Shinra's more so on those levels with his highest feat. Due to the fact that Shinra, while kicking the moon is his best feat, that gets him up to those large planetary to dwarf star levels, Tarmiel is one of the characters who is the large planetary tier in Seven Deadly Sins, and he's drastically inferior to someone like Meliodas. So on their highest ends, the two actually even out in terms of Meliodas and Shinra's attack potency, but towards the middle ends, you could definitely give the edge to Meliodas, especially considering we're using post-purgatory Meliodas. So definitely higher than that in terms of what we're talking about, but only on the mid ends. But for speed, both are quite speedy little boys, because they're actually a few times faster than light. It depends on where you want to put Shinra, because he's also super amped right now, but we know how amped and how much that affected his speed, how drastic it's gotten, because to be fair, he's already able to move at the speed of light. But it's weird with Shinra's whole light speed, because I think his travel speed is what's faster than light, but then when you go to his combat speed, it can also be put in the massively fast than light territory by scaling upwards through his rapid and then comparing him to certain characters. See, I'm definitely going to do an actual scale on Shinra more in depth so I can actually talk about him more deeply, because trying to do it in this video format where we're still supposed to be talking about the battle is a little bit much. I don't know how my friend does this. But thing is, when we're talking about speed, Shinra should be around on the lower ends, considering we aren't taking into consideration any of his Adala amps that he's going through right now. He should be around 600 plus times faster than the speed of light, considering he's able to perception blitz all of his fellow fighters who are comparable to him when he's in his regular base by many times over when he's actually getting an Adala amp. And considering he's in a constant Adala amp right now, it wouldn't be shocking that he would be around those 600 plus times faster than light tiers in terms of raw speed. Though he's very likely higher at this point, considering his power has leaped so much, it wouldn't be surprising that his speed has leaped, especially in combat. So it wouldn't be shocked if he went even crazier in terms of speed in the upcoming chapters. Then we have Meliodas' speed, and once again, there are a ton of variables here, but just since we're going with the highest ends for both, to try and give them both their due credit, Meliodas is also massively faster than light. To a number degree that is sort of up in the air. It really depends on where you want to start him. Like, you can start him at Gother, you can start him at Oslo, you can start him at Darn, you can start him really pretty much anywhere if you want to go with the light speed, and then just multiply from there going onwards. You could use the Celestial's light attacks, you could use the Goddess's light attacks, you could use Gother's light magic, just do whatever you want really in terms of what you want to do with that. And with that, you definitely get Meliodas a bit faster at his most highest events, because you have characters like Escanor who are dodging at massively fast and light speeds, you have characters like Diane who are dodging at fast and light speeds, and then they're drastically blitzed, then their characters that got blitzed by them are drastically blitzed. I would say Meliodas has the edge in speed, honestly, between the two, because Shinra sort of peaked for now, until Shinra picks up some more speed feats, for now, I'd say Meliodas has the edge because of how much higher into light speed he can scale, considering the fact that beginning of series level characters are already in those fast and light speeds, and then they get blitzed over and over and over again, and the beings are literally hundreds of times stronger and faster than them in terms of the end of the series. Even if you go with the lowest numbers, you can definitely get them to the massively fast and light category, upwards of the thousands. So I would definitely have to give Meliodas the edge here. And then the final thing I have to give Meliodas the edge here in is abilities, because Shinra doesn't really have that many. He's just a fire user that can kick you really hard. I know that's a very basic way of putting it, but in terms of like actual abilities and hacks, sure, he has the ability to sharpen his flames with the use of super fire, but outside of that, he doesn't really do much. He can light his feet on fire, and he can fly at you really hard and hit you really hard. He's very much a powerhouse type character. He's not so much a I'll hack you out. Meanwhile, Meliodas can do a bit of both, and while full counter would be absolutely useless unless I want to equalize the fire to a non-physical attack and say Meliodas could full counter it, which is possible, but I won't, just for the sake of Shinra here. Meliodas still has a whole arsenal of abilities that can either keep Shinra out, do extreme damage to Shinra, and or just instantly soul rip him if need be. He has the soul rip as a demon, he has the durability as a demon, he has the ability to use darkness as a demon. Like, he has so many just basic demon abilities on top of all the facts that he could use revenge counter if he starts taking too much damage. He can start using Trillion Dark in order to defend and attack Shinra at the, well, not defend Shinra, but defend himself and attack Shinra at the same time. And overall, he just has a better moveset for dealing with Shinra, considering he can defend himself with either just regular darkness or Trillion Dark, on top of the fact that he could actually help Shinra overheat quicker. We're not sure if Shinra can still overheat after the Adala experience, but I'm pretty sure he still can. He still is a human, so he can very likely overheat, so the Hellblaze would actually be pretty effective on Shinra, because it would just be a lasting flame that's very likely hotter than his flame and could just keep burning and burning and burning. So honestly, in terms of abilities, I have to give the edge to Meliodas just for that alone. Then, if worse comes to worse, he could flash into the Destroyer state and just hit him with a quick old spin and wipe him out of existence, if need be. So, with all that laid out, where does the fight really go? I'd say the fight opens up with the two, like, feeling each other out, like, literally just sparring at first, trying to see who has the edge, especially since, notably, I put Meliodas in assault mode here for the start, because I feel like using True Magic off rip would be a little bit too much. So, the two would probably most certainly be trading blows for a while, but then eventually I would say that the speed gap for Meliodas would come in, and while Shinra would be doing damage, none of the damage would last that long because Meliodas can very easily regenerate it off. And then you have a look at someone like Shinra, who doesn't have any form of healing, and he's going to be overheating himself the more and more he uses his fire powers without rest. And considering how good both of their stamina is, both Meliodas having the massive lead in terms of stamina, I could definitely see Meliodas just wearing down Shinra, whether it be through just damage or simply tiring him out. And on top of that, Meliodas could just clone himself and just give Shinra more distractions. There's a lot more things that Meliodas could do to wear down Shinra and take him out of the fight in comparison to what Shinra can. Because what Shinra would need to do is, like, kick this man so hard he knocks him out the timeline or something like that, where he literally drags Meliodas somewhere else. Because I don't think anything that Shinra has, even if he were to use his super fire, it'd be enough to really one-shot Meliodas and, like, get him up out of here and, like, destroy all 7 of his hearts at the same time. And worse comes to worse, Meliodas goes True Magic, and I think the gap becomes way too wide there because of how much stronger True Magic is compared to the Assault Mode state, which is only a portion of what destroyed the Demon King's vessel. So yeah, I would say that Meliodas still definitely, for now, and honestly, with the way Shinra's growing, with the Moon Feet alone, he's definitely encroaching upon Meliodas' territory, even on his highest, like, True Magic ends. Even if you want to take the True Magic feat to the limit and go with the 1024 times, the way Shinra's growing, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, it was revealed eventually that he was, like, a universal constant that can't actually be stopped, and he's outer versal. No, I'm kidding. But, like, I wouldn't be shocked if he was even more powerful than he is right now, and he has some super deep link to the Evangelist. So consider this video sort of like a mid gap for both of them, because while Meliodas' series is over, he could very easily pop up in Fortnite the Apocalypse and be stronger than ever before. And same thing for Shinra. His series just isn't even stopped yet, so he could definitely grow more powerful, especially with the way Adala is growing. So for now, I will give the win to Meliodas because the two are comparable in attack potency, with Meliodas having the edge in speed and having the edge in abilities, and overall better immunity and ability to deal with Shinra's moveset, while Shinra has comparable attack potency, around the same levels of offense and around the same levels of defense. Meanwhile, he's lacking in terms of speed and he's lacking in terms of abilities. So that's where the balance goes. If I had to say how I think the fight would go play by play, legitimately, I can see the two definitely just opening up, going to kick each other, and then like they're both like, wow, this guy can actually kick pretty hard. But then Meliodas speeds up a little bit, and then Shinra's like, oh wait, I can't dodge, boom, and they get slammed into the planet. And then just slowly, progressively, Meliodas wearing Shinra down until the very end, where he's like, alright, so you're defeated, you're down atrocious, I'm gonna go talk to that fairy guy, because I'm pretty sure he's the reason I came here. Let me be back. And then that's how the fight ends. Because I don't think Meliodas would kill Shinra. And the thing is, I don't think Meliodas would resort to Soul Rip or anything like that. He would definitely just bully Shinra out. He would essentially knock Shinra down and then leave him be. I don't think either of these two would really be in the mood for like a straight out death match. And if they were, if this was morals off bloodlusted, Shinra loses immediately. Just because, bam, soul speak, bada bing, bada boom, Shinra has no soul and is dead. And then Meliodas gets stronger because he eats a really strong soul. And then he leaves. So there's that. Please tell me if you guys like this format where I sort of like make it a more general discussion with the drawing going on in the background. I don't know. This was something that I was inspired to do based off one of my friends who also does versus battles. He doesn't really show like clips or like manga panels. He sort of just talks about it and expects the audience to know what the YouTuber is talking about, and then we'll simply put images in the background to correlate, and occasionally they'll match up. But considering I'm a drawing guy, like I just use the drawing. So if you guys like this one, please tell me. I wouldn't mind doing more of these. I do, personally, I'll let you know, I kind of prefer the more heavily edited stuff just because it feels more concise. It feels like I make a better argument when I have all the panels right there and there, and my sources and just trust me, bro. But I understand if you guys like this more. It's a mix-up. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.